I forgot to add myself to the stream. Hey, Sarah. Oh, I need a minute. I brought a little friend with me today. I figured my lizards were such a hit the other day, I'd bring my favorite one up. For some reason, every time I move away from the camera and then come back, it takes a minute for it to focus on my face. Look at it, it's so bright. Well, if you can see him, this is Rome. He's my handicap lizard. And he has a little crooked spine here, but it doesn't bother him. And he can't really use his back legs very well, but other than that, no, he's not a big old piece of eagle food. But don't tell anybody that he's my favorite. So shh. Where are you? I don't know why it's not focusing. It's driving me crazy. I'm about to switch cameras real quick. Oh, there you go. He's waving. If I put him close. There we go. You fixed it, Rome. Say hi. All right. Let me pull him back. There you can sit in the blanket. All right, y'all. I'm going to talk about the Murdaughs today. Oh, my goodness. So, I spent all day at work. This is driving me crazy that it's like this. Hold on a minute. Try and... Maybe if I do this. Hold on a second. I have an idea. This might be better. No. I thought maybe if I covered my one screen with a darker background and put the bright one on the other side. Oh, it worked a little bit. All right, so I'm going to talk about the Murdaughs today. I was at work and I started doing this PowerPoint because I was like, it just looks so nice to do a little PowerPoint to show everyone because there's so much information. It's like a case within a case within a case. And I did a PowerPoint and I didn't realize how much work it would take. I was literally doing this PowerPoint since 11 o'clock in the morning till 5 minutes ago. So hopefully I got everything in there to explain this all good. I did the best I could. I probably could have put more pictures, but I can probably just Google some pictures if we need to. But so let me share my slides. And I just want to say that if anyone really hasn't filed this case and you want a good info on it, this is where I got most of my info. It's the Murdaugh Murders podcast by Mandy Matney. She's been probably the number one researcher. She's literally been the one exposing a lot of Murdaugh stuff. Yeah, I was working on the PowerPoint all morning. No, here's the messed up part, right? So I downloaded PowerPoint on my phone and I was started a whole PowerPoint on there. I got through 4 slides, in-depth slides, paragraphs, but then towards the third slide, every time I would type, it would take 5 minutes for the keyboard to catch up. It's never done that to me in any other app. So I have no idea why it did in this app, but it just took forever to catch up. And it was taking me a whole hour to make this PowerPoint. And then I just was why didn't I just do it on Google Slides? That's so much easier. So then I just deleted the whole thing and restarted again and did it on Google Slides, which was a lot easier. and there's like this little itty bitty bug flying around me. I don't know where it came from, but it's driving me nuts. Okay, give Sarah my number so we can be all friends. I'll have to start a Facebook chat with you guys. All right.
So bad.
So, this first slide is just about the Murdaugh family history. So basically, like, the Murdaughs have pretty much ran the 14th district of South Carolina for like the longest time. Like, they're in everyone's pockets. I mean, they know all the police officers, all the judges, all that. And a lot of people have like feared the Murdaughs because if you try and do anything against them, you know, it would backfire on you. So like, on top of that, everyone, there's so many people who like owe the Murdaughs favors because they've represented almost every, you know, it's a small, like, low country South Carolina. So they've pretty much represented a ton of people, things like that. So the Murdaugh family is a prominent American legal family in the Low Country region of South Carolina. From 1920 to 2006, 3 members of the family consecutively served as solicitor, pretty much a district attorney, but it's just called a solicitor there. Hi, Buffon. Am I saying that right? They were in charge of prosecuting all criminal cases in the state's 14th district, leading locals to call the 5-county district Murdaugh Country. The family also founded a nationally influential civil litigation law firm in Hampton, South Carolina. Hi, Crystal. Hey, Chloe Joe. Sorry, Crystal, I didn't see your name up earlier. I think you said hi when I was showing Romy. Hey, Chloe Joe. Where was I? So, Randolph Murdaugh Sr. was born in Varnville and graduated from law school at the University of South Carolina. Upon graduation, Murdaugh Sr. founded a one-man law firm in Hampton, South Carolina, about 65 miles inland from Charleston in 1910. In 1920, he became the solicitor in the 14th Judicial Circuit and held the position until 1940, when he was killed in a collision between his car and a train. He also ran a local daily newspaper, the Hampton County Herald. Hold on one second. Give me 1 second, guys. Hold on. I gotta do something real quick. Okay. I just need to turn a light on over there. Where was I? After he was killed in a collision between his car and a train. He also ran a local daily newspaper, the Hampton County Herald. Murdaugh Sr. was succeeded by his son, Randolph Buster Murdaugh Jr. I believe they called him Buster because he was like a pretty big dude and he played football and he was like a lineman and he would, like, you know, bust into people. I guess that's how they said it. All right. He served from 1940 to 1986. In his 40 years of office, Buster ran opposed only twice. He was known for his love of chewing tobacco, his courtroom prowess, and his flair for acting out murders before spellbound juries. According to Professor John Bloom of Cornell Law School, Buster was rebuked several times by the state Supreme Court for his closing arguments in several death penalty cases. In 1956, he was indicted by a federal grand jury for allegedly warning a bootlegger to move a still into a neighboring county to avoid the police. He was acquitted, and Buster retired in 1986 and died in 1998. Buster was succeeded as solicitor by his son, Randolph Murdaugh III, which was Alex Murdaugh, who's like, the main guy in this story, it's his dad. He took office in 1986. He ran unopposed in every election and held office until retiring in 2006. Randolph III was married to Elizabeth Alexander and had 4 children, including 3 sons. Randolph IV, called Randy, Richard Alexander, called Alex, both of whom entered the family law firm, and John Marvin. In 2019, Randolph III was awarded the Order of the Palmetto, South Carolina's highest civilian recognition, by the governor, Henry McMaster. He retired in 2006 and died of natural causes June 10th, 2021. Alex graduated from USC in 1990 and from the USC School of Law in 1994. He soon joined the Murdaugh family firm, volunteering part-time in the 14th Circuit Solicitor's Office. So I guess they have their volunteer prosecutors. So they pretty much still, they didn't have a permanent person holding office, but he still was doing prosecuting.
Oh shit, I thought you were on the other side of the wall. Okay.
Where was I? Alex married Margaret Kennedy Branstetter. I wonder if she's like an actual Kennedy. I didn't mean to do that. Called Maggie, and had 2 sons, Richard Alexander, called Buster, and Paul Terry, who was born in 1999. The Murdaughs founded a high-end personal injury law firm named PMPED, Peters, Murdaugh, Parker, Eltzroth, and Dietrich. So these are all the Murdaughs. This is Alex, Paul, Maggie, and Buster. And then this is the 3 generations of the solicitors, I'm guessing. This is Alex. He's the guy that this story's mainly focused around. This is John Marvin and Randy. This is when they went on the news. They did an interview after Alex's family was killed, begging people to come forward with any information they might have. And this is when the grandfather won the Palmetto Award, and the whole family of Murdaughs were there. Hey, cool gamer. So,
poor guys.
The death of Mallory Beach. So, Mallory. All right, let me just start with this. On February 23rd, Paul, his girlfriend, Morgan Dowdy, I think that's how you say it, but I'm not sure. Connor Cook, Miley Altman, thanks, Anthony Cook, and Mallory Beach, which was, sorry if you can hear Dave in the background. He's being really loud while he's gaming. I tried to make like a sound barrier, but sometimes it just doesn't work. So, Mallory Beach, that was Anthony Cook's girlfriend, and then they all met at Paul's home around 6:30 p.m. to go to an oyster roast at the home of Crystal Cook. I think Anthony, Connor, and Crystal were all cousins, if I remember correctly.
He's under me.
They arrived by boat between 7:30 and 8 p.m. According to Crystal Cook, no alcohol was served at the event, but when they arrived, Miley had a White Claw in her hand, but she threw it out because her parents were there. Crystal said that they did not seem intoxicated at the event. They left the party around 12:11 a.m. and headed on their boat downtown to Henry Chambers Waterfront Park. En route, the Garmin boat GPS recorded the boat almost collided with Wood Swing Bridge. So on their way downtown, they basically almost collided with a bridge. Now, mind you, this boat didn't have headlights on it, so they're driving like 12 o'clock at night, drunk at this point, because they had brought beers and White Claws in the cooler of the boat. And they get downtown at 12:49 a.m. and Paul and Connor go into Luther's Rare and Well Dunbar. Paul orders a round of Jaeger bombs using Buster's ID, and Connor ordered a round of lemon drops each taking 2 shots in an 8-minute period. They met back up with the group at 1:13 a.m. and they left by 1:17 a.m. Anthony Cook confirms they are all drunk at this point. Yeah, I'd never get on a boat. No, he won't be minding. He's gaming and literally screaming in the other room. Like all kinds of obscenities too. Yeah, so Anthony Cook confirms by that point they were all drunk. So those two only went to the bar, but the rest of them were kind of annoyed. They didn't want to go to the bar. But like Paul was drunk and wanted to do what he wanted to do. And Connor wasn't going to go to the bar either, but then he didn't want Paul to go by himself, so he went with him. Then at 2:20 a.m., so they get back on the boat at 1:17 a.m., and then at 2:20 a.m., the Garmin records a decrease, then spike in the speed of the boat. According to Anthony Cook's deposition, everyone on the boat was fighting. He said, "We argued the whole time, the whole way. Everyone was fighting and arguing. We drifted around in circles numerous times. We idled long. I mean, Miley was steady hollering that she had work the next morning. She was ready to go, that she was wanting to hurry up and get home, and all Paul was doing was making a fool of himself. Paul, for some reason, acted like he was on drugs or something. He started taking off his clothes during one of the arguments, and it's 40 degrees outside." Yeah, he's definitely dropping way more than F-bombs too. So, basically, Paul's like out of control. He's taking off his clothes in this boat. He's not paying attention to driving. He keeps walking away. As he keeps walking away, Connor's grabbing the wheel. He spits in his girlfriend's face. I mean, he's just like a mess. So everyone was trying to talk Paul into letting Anthony drive the boat, and he wasn't having it no different. He said it's his boat, and nobody knows the effing river like he does. He had such a different personality when he would get drunk that they created like an alter ego for him, and they named him Timmy because he acted so different. Like they said, like he acted so different and so horrible when he was drunk that like they'd be like, "Oh, here's Timmy." Seconds later, the boat plowed into the Doffing pilings at the Archers Creek Bridge. At 2:20 a.m., the boat came to a stop, crashing on the bridge. In an interview with officers, they said Paul, Anthony, and Mallory were thrown from the boat. Paul and Anthony made it to shore, and Mallory's body was found 6 days later. Mallory was like nowhere to be seen. It was like she disappeared. Anthony was screaming in the water for Mallory. And that's when I knew something bad had happened. Miley Altman. That was a quote from Miley Altman. Miley said it took a moment for the group to catch their breath, and they called 911. Connor stayed on the line with the operator, trying to get as much information as possible to the first responders. He and Miley walked to the road and flagged down officers with a light. "Hey, Punkette." Morgan was injured in the crash and could be heard in the background of the call panicking about losing blood and finding her friend Mallory. Miley said Paul's main concern at this point was getting in contact with his grandfather, Randolph Murdaugh. When investigators asked Miley why Paul was so adamant about calling his grandfather, she speculated, "Well, you know, because they're lawyers and stuff. He wanted him to be there first." She said he went back and forth on whether to call his dad, Alex Murdaugh, and eventually did, despite many witnesses reporting Paul being obviously drunk. Sorry. No responding officers administered a field sobriety test at the scene of the crash and said the group was transported to the hospital. So, yeah, Paul was visibly drunk. He was fighting with first responders. He was just being, like, really difficult, and they didn't even give him a field sobriety test. Miley, Connor, and Paul rode together in one ambulance. Miley recalled Paul being uncooperative and aggressive towards first responders during the ride. Shortly after they arrived at the hospital, Paul was met by his father and grandfather. One of the nurses recalled Paul's father walking around introducing himself to EMS and ER staff. and walking throughout the ER trying to talk to all patients involved. A nurse for Morgan recalled Alex Murdaugh was trying to enter her room multiple times when she was being interviewed by law enforcement. Ultimately, Paul Murdaugh was charged for boating under the influence, resulting in great bodily harm and death, and he was awaiting trial when he was killed. So this is like pictures of the boat they were driving after the crash. I think that's blood right there. You can see like the whole side of it's ripped. I think some guy went out to search for Mallory 6 days later and ended up finding her like a mile or so away from there, I think it was, but she was really pretty too. I don't know if I can, let me see if I can put a picture of her up real quick. I don't know if it's going to mess up my slides, but we'll try it anyway. I should put a picture up on there, but I didn't. That's Mallory. She was super cute. All right, let me go back to my... This is really small. I don't know why. All right, so the murders at Moselle. On June 7th, 2021, Alex called 911 around 10 p.m. saying he had discovered the body of his 21-year-old son Paul and his wife Maggie near the dog kennels at the family's hunting lodge by the dog kennels. Both had been shot with different guns. According to recent reports, Paul's body was half in and half out of the dog kennels. So, Paul was basically at the kennels. I think he was babysitting a dog for his friend, and he was at the kennels taking a picture of the dog and sending it to his friend. And Paul was shot with a shotgun in the chest and head at close range. Early reports said he was killed. Well, there were like rumors in the early reports that he was killed execution style. Maggie was shot multiple times, including one shot in the back and multiple times after she was already on the ground. So I guess maybe she was running away or whatever, and he shot her in the back, and then while she's laying on the ground, she was shot a couple times as well. She had been shot with 300 blackout ammo from an AR-style rifle. Maggie Murdaugh's cell phone was found on the side of the road near their 1,700-acre property. The murders were committed around 9 p.m. So the weird thing was, her phone wasn't on her. They couldn't find it, and it ended up being like out on the road, on the side of the road somewhere, almost like somebody had like threw it out the car window. Alex claimed he was at the hospital visiting his dying father when the murders happened. But, all right, that's fine, Sarah. But it recently came out that Alex had high-velocity blood spatter on his shirt, and that he had lured Maggie to Moselle under the guise that she needed to go to the hospital with him to see his dying father. She initially insisted on meeting him at the hospital, but she eventually gave in to meeting him there and driving with him to the hospital. Maggie messaged her friend and said she believed Alex was acting weird and was up to something. Hey, Britt. So, Britt, I'll recap real quick for you before I go on. So, the Murdaughs are like really prominent South Carolina family of lawyers who pretty much own the town. They've all been prosecutors there since 1920. They know everybody. They have their own personal injury law firm. They've done favors for everybody. They know all law enforcement, everything. So people are really afraid to like step to them because they just got their hands in everyone's pockets, you know? And then Alex Murdaugh, he's like one of the Murdaugh family like lawyers that it's focused around. His son Paul when he was 20, went to a party and got really drunk and was driving a boat in the dark with no headlights, crashed it, and he killed a girl named Mallory Beach. And that really brought the Murdaughs in the public, in the media, and kind of like started getting eyes on them because people were really mad how things were going with that investigation because things kept, getting, what do you call it, like hidden or the investigation, like they didn't do a field sobriety test, things like that. They were already at the hospital when they got there. They were trying, thanks, Britt. They were trying to get people not to talk. So basically, he killed that girl, Mallory Beach. And then on June 7th, Alex Murdaugh calls 911 at 10 p.m. saying he discovered the body of his 21-year-old son, Paul, and his wife, Maggie, near the dog kennels at the family's hunting lodge. I don't know. I wrote by the dog kennels twice. They both had been shot with different guns. Paul's body was found half in, half out of the dog kennels, and he was shot with a shotgun in the chest and head at close range. And Maggie was shot multiple times, including a shot in the back, and then multiple times after she was on the ground. And she was shot with a rifle. Alex claimed he was at the hospital visiting his dying father when the murders occurred and that he just came home and found them like that. And recently, it's come out that Alex actually had high-velocity blood spatter on the shirt, which pretty much could only be caused by if, like, you shoot somebody and blood splashes up. Like, it wouldn't get on his shirt if the way that it had if he had just showed up and found them like that. Like, it wouldn't be high-velocity blood spatter. And then I guess they had looked through the phone records. So Maggie's phone was found out on the street, like somebody threw it out the window, but not at the crime scene. They found her phone, and I'm assuming they looked through it, and they found out that Alex actually lured. So him and Maggie, let me give a little insight into that. Him and Maggie were married, but they were separated, and they were living apart. Maggie was living at their beach house, and I guess Alex was living at Moselle. I'm not really sure, but I mean, they had like several properties. But Maggie had just contacted a divorce lawyer, and she also hired somebody to look into Alex's financials, which I believe is the motive for his killing her, because he literally had like no money left and he was misappropriating funds from their law firm, like millions of dollars from their law firm. And I can't stop yawning. I haven't worked all day, so I'm tired. So he was misappropriating funds from their law firm, and he had he had like asset money left, but not like money. And he also had did some really shady stuff with his clients. Like, he wouldn't give them the money, and he would keep money, and he was like laundering money into this bank account, which I'll explain one of those incidents like later. But there's I think he has like 85 counts or something like that. Maybe I have it backwards, but he has a lot of charges when it comes to financial crimes. So basically, he called Maggie and told her that his father was dying, and she needed to go with him to the hospital to see him. And he asked her to meet him at the property, and she told him, like, no, I'll just meet you at the hospital. And then somehow he convinced her to meet him at the property, and she came to the property, and that's where he killed her. But I find this interesting because he told the police that he was actually visiting his dying father, but obviously he wasn't, because he had asked her to come with him to visit his dying father and ended up killing her, unless he went to go visit him afterwards. But still, I mean, it's pretty, I think, They probably have enough evidence where they can charge him with murder. I don't know if he was the lone gunman or not, because I know that guy. There's a guy named Curtis Eddie Smith who has helped him with another situation that I feel like maybe could have helped him, but he's been charged with 2 counts of murder. They were living apart, like I said. She hired a divorce attorney and was looking into his financials. On June 17th, 2021, Alex Murdaugh, Randy Murdaugh, and John Marvin do an interview begging people to come forward with any information. And then on June 27th, 2021, police reopened the case of Stephen Smith. And I'm going to play the 911 call real quick, because I think the 911 call is huge, because I feel like you can hear in the 911 call him. So I don't think he meant to kill Paul. I think he didn't know Paul was there, and then Paul had seen what happened and then either probably came after him. Paul's his son. Either Paul like went after him and then he killed him, or he realized Paul was there and didn't want to. Oh no, sorry, Sarah. Yeah, lovely lady. It is a tragic legacy for this family, for sure. It's a shame. All right, hold on 1 second. I just want to make sure this is the right name. Hold on before I share it. Okay, yeah, it is the one. All right, hold on 1 second. Hopefully you guys can hear this okay. Let me make sure my volume's all the way up. Is your daughter okay, Sarah?
At 4147 Moselle Road, I need the police to access immediately. My wife and child are just stuck badly. Okay, you said 4147 Moselle Road in Allison?
Can you guys hear that okay, or is it quiet? Should I try and find a louder version of it? Let's see if I can. Give me a second. Let me see if this is louder. Is that? Tell me if this sounds louder, y'all.
You talking about you, Ace? Okay, you said 4147 Moselle Road in Allison? I should have hit that. You said 4147 Moselle Road in Allison? Yes, sir. 4147 Moselle Road. Stay on the line with me, okay? Yes, sir. Stay on the line with me, okay? I'm still here. Stay on the line. I'm still here, okay? Carlson, I have an Alex Murdaugh on the line calling from 4147 Moselle Road. He's advising that his wife.
I know this is going to sound terrible, lovely lady, but at first I thought he sounded genuine. But now that I know that, like, he's not, he is a horrible actor. But I did think he was genuine at first. Like the noises he was making were like so dramatic.
And child was shot 4147 Moselle Road. I've been up to it now. It's bad.
Communication.
I have an Alex Murdaugh on the line calling from 4147 Moselle Road. He's advising that his wife and child was shot.
Okay, and sir, give me the address again.
It's 4147 Moselle Road. I've been up to it now. It's bad.
Okay. Okay, and are they breathing?
No, ma'am.
Okay, and you said it's your wife and your son?
So listen closely. I feel like at one point, I forget what the timestamp is, but I feel like he says something like, Paul, why did you get involved? Or like, I forget what timestamp is that though, but I remember hearing that. Like, I swear he says it.
My wife and my son.
Are they in a vehicle?
No, ma'am. They're on the ground out at my kennel.
Okay, and did you see anyone? Okay, is he breathing at all?
No.
Is she? Okay, do you see anything? Do you see anyone in the area?
No, ma'am.
What color is your house on the outside? What color is your house on the outside?
It's white. You can't see it from the road.
Okay, is it a house or a mobile home?
It's a house.
Okay, and what is your name?
It's a house!
My name is Alex Murdaugh.
Okay, did you hear anything, or did you come home and find them?
No, ma'am. I've been gone. I just came back.
Okay, and was anyone else supposed to be at your house?
No, ma'am. Please hurry.
We're getting somebody out there to you.
Oh. Man. Oh.
Okay, what is her name?
Maggie and Paul.
Maggie is her name?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And please hurry.
We're getting somebody out there to you. Me asking you these questions, don't slow them down, okay? And you sure they're not breathing? Is he moving at all, your son? I know you said that she was shot, but what about your son?
Nobody. They're not. Neither one of them moving.
What is your telephone number? And does anything look out of place?
Ma'am, not particularly, really, no, ma'am.
Okay. Okay.
Stop my camera real quick.
All right, I'm going back down there. Are they close, ma'am?
Yeah, they've been en route with you ever since you've got on the phone with me. I have multiple people coming out there to you.
Hey, Jeep.
Okay, can you do me a favor, Mr. Murdaugh, and turn on the flashers on your car so that way they can see where the kennels are?
21. Come down 618. You will be 615.
Do you have your flashers on for me, Mr. Murdaugh?
Yes.
Okay. I don't want you to touch them at all, okay? I don't know if you've already touched them, but I don't want you to touch them just in case they can get any kind of evidence, okay?
I already touched them trying to get to see if they were breathing.
Okay. Well, I just don't want you to move anything just in case they can get any kind of evidence, okay?
They're not breathing. Oh. Man, I'm gonna call. I need to call some of my family.
Okay. Well, do me a favor for me. Whenever you see the officer or the medics, because they're all coming to you.
Absolutely.
Okay. But we have them come in, turn on the flashes on your vehicle so they can see you, okay?
Yeah, Maggie was really cute.
You got the flashes on for me?
I do.
Okay. All right. Just whenever you see them.
Okay.
How old is your son?
22.
Okay. All right. We're getting them out there to you, okay?
And I'll answer if you call.
All right.
Alright, we got people out by your fence out here.
All right, that's a 911 call. I'll have to listen to it with headphones, but he does at one point, like when he's in the background, he's like, sounds like he says, Paul, why did you have to get involved or something like that. I think it's like when you hear him say like Paul, Maggie, or whatever. I know it is sad, isn't it, Lori? It's crazy, like, to think now, like, that he lured her there. What I think happened is, I think he lured her to Moselle. What, like they said, he told her that she needed to go with him to visit his dying father, and then, she got there and he gunned her down, and then I think he didn't realize Paul was actually inside the kennel, and when he did, he knew he had, like, he just got caught killing his wife, so he took him out too. Or maybe Paul tried to attack him, and then, because it was done at close range. Paul was killed at close range, so it makes me wonder if they had, like, some kind of scuffle, and then he killed Paul. Oh no, Punkette, you split your head open? Oh my gosh. Hope you're okay. I hate hitting my head on the corner of things. I hit my head all the time. Like, I'll be feeding my lizards, and I'll open the door to their tank, and then I'll do the bottom tank, and then I'll sit up and whack my head on the corner of their thing. If anyone didn't see, I got my little friend here. Say hi, Romy. He's pissed at me because I'm waking him up. You want to say something, Rome? No. Just a flesh wound. Every time I hear that, it reminds me of Monty Python, where the knight, it's like, it's just a flesh wound. It's like, you cut off your leg. It's just a flesh wound. All right. Anyway. All right. So we did that one. All right. So the death of Stephen Smith. So there's a lot of, like, cases that the Murdaughs are tied to, and I honestly wouldn't be shocked if there was more that come out, because, like, things just keep coming out. I can't stop yawning. I'm, like, so tired because I've been up all day. I'm, like, trying not to. Stephen Smith was found dead shortly before 4 a.m. on July 8th, 2015, near 6199 Sandy Run Road. It's basically like a very desolate country road. There's like 2 businesses on it and maybe like a house every mile or so. Oh, you split your head open on a ceiling fan and almost knocked you out cold. Oh no. You know what I do all the time? So we work in construction, and there's always like a piece of like 2x4 hanging on the back of the truck at like all times. And I'll like walk around the back of my truck to like load stuff in, or like just to walk, like if I'm, walking down to the car and walk behind the car to go to the front door and don't even realize it's there because I'm so short and whack my head. I do it all the time. So on July 21st, 2021, SLED reopens Stephen Smith's case based on some information uncovered from the double murder at Moselle. So at the end of this, I'll tell you what I think they uncovered, but I'm not 100% sure because they never said. But Stephen's face was covered in blood. He had a 7-inch gash on the right side of his forehead, and it was heavily bruised and bashed in by blunt force. His shoulder was dislocated. His loosely tied shoes were still on his feet, and his phone and key were in his pocket. His car was found about 3 miles away on, I think they said Bamberg Highway, with the gas cap off, and police couldn't get the car to start. Highway patrol searched the scene many times, and every time they found no evidence of a motor vehicle accident. They found no tire marks. They found no vehicle debris. They found nothing. No glass, anything. The first two conclusions the police came to was either that it were a gunshot or a hit-and-run accident. They found no, like I said, they found no tire marks or debris, so they couldn't, like, they thought it might be a hit-and-run, but they couldn't really say it was that because none of that was there. The coroner ruled the death as a shooting homicide. And almost every law enforcement official did not believe it was a hit and run. SLED told Highway Patrol that they didn't need to be at the autopsy because it was not a motor vehicle accident. After the autopsy, the medical examiner ruled the cause of death a hit and run accident. The detective asked her, like, why do you think it was a hit and run? And the medical examiner told him because he was in the road and because like there wasn't a bullet. She couldn't find a bullet. So then he asked her why she ruled it a motor vehicle accident and what caused the head injury then. If you couldn't find a bullet, what do you think, like, why do you think it was a motor vehicle accident and what caused the head injury? And at that point, even like in the report he wrote this, she snapped back and said, that's not my job to figure out. The highway patrol officers had said they all had hostile experiences with her and couldn't get an answer as to why she ruled it a vehicular accident. Now, mind you, the Murdaughs were very in with all these people, or a lot of the county, because they had, basically ran it judicially for like since 1920. I don't know how long that is, but it's like a very long time. A month after Stephen's death, sorry, I forgot where I was. A month after Stephen's death, the coroner said he didn't believe the death was a hit and run, even though officials rejected the ruling that Stephen was killed by a truck mirror in a hit and run accident. Highway Patrol investigated the case. So basically they said that it was like so messed up. They basically said that he was hit by a mirror as the truck was going by. But here's the weird part. His shoes were still on his feet. Now, I can tell you, I was hit by a car before, and I, went up on the car, flipped over, my shoes and socks came off. So I just feel like if he was actually hit by a truck driving by that hard, there's no way that his phone and his key would still be in his pocket and his shoes would still be on. The officials even rejected the ruling, but when they Highway Patrol investigated the case, they took his clothes and they looked into all his clothes, like they did, like see if there was anything on his clothes, paint chips, stuff like that. They couldn't find anything on his clothes, on his shoes, but they had found debris. Oh yeah, it'll definitely be a miniseries. So they found debris on his clothes, and then inside the debris, they found these really little, small blue paint chips. Now the paint, they believe, could have came from a tool or some kind of industrial tool or an older Toyota model car. The certain older Toyota model car used this particular paint. When they took his clothes, chain of custody was also broken. Basically, they put his clothes in a paper bag and like left it at the funeral home. Like they didn't put it in an evidence bag or nothing like that. So they like totally screwed up this investigation. For years, Stephen's phone was tossed between agencies. They could never get it unlocked. Along with discrepancies on chain of custody forms, a rape kit was performed on Stephen that got lost in translation, along with gunshot residue testing. Even scene descriptions aren't accurate. They report it. I know, me too. Me too, Fruit Loops. So they reported that one cop reported that he was wearing a yellow collared shirt, and then other ones reported that he was wearing a black Adidas shirt. So like they weren't even getting the descriptions right. Stephen's best friend had heard a rumor that Stephen had some kind of romantic relationship with Buster Murdaugh. The Murdaughs were mentioned over 20 times during the investigation. Where was I? During an interview, someone told Detective Duncan that Stephen was running from a man in the woods, someone he was messing with that nobody knew of, and was going to out him. A gate pass was also found in Stephen's car for a Hilton Head community. The gate pass was called in 10 days prior. It was a man named Joe who met Stephen online, and they hooked up for a one-night stand, and they didn't even ask this guy for an alibi. Another interview unveils a rumor that 3 young men were in a vehicle and saw him walking and turn around and hit him with something out of the window. The guy said, quote unquote, the guy goes by Buster Murdaugh. After the Moselle murders, they found what I think happened is after the Moselle murders and they were on the property and they were looking into stuff, I think they found maybe an item that had the same paint chips or a car that had similar paint chips, and that's why they reopened the investigation. Because pretty much it was like one of the only pieces of evidence that they really could use to tie anybody to the crime. So it makes me wonder if maybe they had found something related to that. All right, here's the next death. The death of Gloria Satterfield. Gloria Satterfield was their nanny. She worked for them for over 25 years. So, a $500,000 wrongful death suit with Alex Murdaugh as the only defendant, but Alex's best friend, Corey Fleming, was the lawyer representing the Satterfield family. Fleming has ties to all 3 cases. In the Stephen Smith case, his client, Patrick Wilson, was suspiciously injected into the investigation. In the Mallory Beach one, Alex told Connor Cook to have Fleming represent him, and now Connor Cook is suing both Fleming and Murdaugh for trying to frame him as the boat driver in the investigation, and now he was representing the Satterfields. None of Gloria's sons... Alright, so in a nutshell, after Gloria fell down some steps in the Murdaugh home. They said that the dogs were running at her feet and she tripped on the steps with and fell down them, resulting in a traumatic brain injury in February of 2018. Then Alex, sorry, I said, yeah, she was the nanny. I get the house, or I don't know if she was the housekeeper or the nanny, but I know she took care of the kids for like 25 years, so I guess it would be the nanny. So basically, she dies, and then Alex goes to the sons. Well, mind you, they didn't even offer to pay for her funeral. She worked for them for over 25 years and helped raise their kids, and they didn't even offer to pay for her funeral. Like, how shitty is that? But it gets even more shitty. Listen to this. So, Alex, at the funeral, goes up to the aunts and uncles and cousins, or aunts and uncles and sons and cousins or whatever, the whole family. But the sons, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Gloria's one son is like disabled, or like he has some kind of disability. So they're, maybe both of them do, I don't know, but they're pretty like vulnerable guys, I would say. And he goes to them and he says, look, this is what's going to happen. This is what we're going to do. I'm going to take you to see a lawyer. And lawyer, I know, is going to file a claim against me. And I'll admit that I was negligent, and I'll turn it over to my insurance carriers, and they will pay you, but you can't tell anybody this because I could get in trouble. So then he takes him to Corey Fleming, who's Paul's godfather, but he doesn't tell them that he's Paul's godfather. And Corey signs him up, and then he names the son Tony as the personal representative in charge of the estate. So he makes him the PR. A PR is the person in charge of the estate. I think Tony is the son. Tony could be maybe the brother. He's either the brother or the son. Brian denounces his right to PR because he's a vulnerable adult, which I think Brian was the son, and he denounces it to Tony. Which means Corey Fleming represents the person in charge of the state. So as soon as you change the PR, the lawyer represents the PR, not say the son, he goes to the sons and they stand up, but then they make somebody else a PR. But the lawyer only represents the PR. So they make a claim against Alex, who tells the insurance company that he's at fault. Corey doesn't tell Tony what's going on, and then he later calls him and tells him, you probably shouldn't be the PR anymore. I know someone better who knows what he's like doing, and blah, 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 and convinces Tony to change his PR. So Tony renounces his PR, and they name this guy Chad Westendorf from the bank. And Corey legally no longer has to communicate with Gloria's sons or family. So basically, once Chad Westendorf becomes the PR, because Tony renounces it to him, they no longer have to communicate with the family at all. So basically, like, they don't have to tell them anything. And then, hold on. The very next day, they petition. So the very next day, after they make Chad Westendorf the PR, they petition the $500,000 settlement. The judge in this case is this Judge Buckner. Judge Buckner is a friend of the Murdaughs who denounced or recused himself during the Mallory Beach trial. In March, they have a mediation and compromise with the total claims they will settle for. So they end up settling for $4,300,000. Not $500,000, but it says on the paper $500,000, but that's what they end up settling for, that crazy amount of money. And then the money would be paid to Chad Westendorf. So then Alex requests that they change the court caption without court approval and take his name off it. He also convinced the court to take his name off the settlement right around the time of the boat crash when he was in the spotlight. So get this. the case has no docket number. So, like, if they wanted to sue them and they brought it to court, the judge would be like, what am I looking at? And they'll be like, we don't have a file on it. And she's going to be like, how can I try a case that doesn't have a file on it? So there's literally no docket. So that's like unheard of. If anyone knows anything about court cases, like every court case has a docket number. So if this court case has no docket number, something's really wrong here. So Gloria's medical bills that they're supposed, so basically they decide that this is how Alex gets his share. So Alex designs it to make it look like a structured settlement, which basically is like, he gives them money. He gives them money over time. So, like, all right, say if you have like a minor or somebody like that, you don't give them all the money right away. You put it in like a structured settlement where it builds up interest and they get the money over time. A lot of people do that just like so you're more responsible with it. So Alex says, look, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do a structured settlement. And they structure that even though her medical bills are up to $600,000, they only structure $50,000 towards medical bills. But Gloria's sons would end up not having to pay them because they're not part of her estate. So then Alex tells Fleming to write a check out to this company, Forge. Forge is a settlement, like a structured settlement company that does it for you. Like you send it to Forge and then they do it over time. Well, so Alex tells Fleming to write a check to Forge under the guise as a structured settlement and then send it to a P.O. box. Then Alex Murdaugh opens up the account at the bank under the name Forge. So Fleming says we're going to put it in Forge as a structured settlement. And then he writes a check to Forge and then mails it to a P.O. box that goes to Alex. It's Alex's P.O. box. And then Alex opens up a bank account under the name Forge and cashes the check. And that's how he gets the money. So basically, he was doing this to like probably a bunch of his clients. And that's why he's got so many charges. But how crazy is that? And mind you, Gloria's sons have never seen any of the money. No money at all. So then, all right, so the murders happened in June. And then in September 4th of 2021, news broke that Alex Murdaugh was shot. But the story was suspicious and not adding up. The day after the shooting, SLED announced that Alex's head wound was superficial and named no suspects. So everyone was like, that's weird. Like, it was really weird the way they were reporting it, and everyone was kind of suspicious about it. I can't stop yawning. Oh my god. Let me put him back real quick. Alright, so Alex's attorney, Dick Harpootlian, went on a media campaign saying that Alex was changing a tire on a rural road when somebody drove by and shot him in the head. 2 days later, a family spokesperson announced that Alex Murdaugh was going to rehab and resigned from their family law firm. Just hours before that statement, Fit News posted an article about Alex's supposed drug problems and money issues. They also, the spokesperson for the Murdaughs also issued an apology from Alex, apologizing to his friends, family, and colleagues. On the same day, PMPED made a statement that Alex Murdaugh misappropriated millions of dollars in funds from the law firm. His law license was also suspended. Police recovered the knife that slashed the tire at the scene, and the knife belonged to Alex, or it was connected to Alex Murdaugh. The Mercedes-Benz he was driving also had a flat tire, and he claimed he was changing a tire on the side of the road and he was shot in the head. And they found the knife that slashed his tire, but he wouldn't need to be changing his tire because his car had run flat tires on it. And then he also said that he was on his way to Moselle from, I forget where he said he was going from, but the way he said he was going is like totally out of the way. Like nobody would take that way to where he was going. So on September 10th, 2021, Curtis Eddie Smith is arrested. Alex admits to setting up an insurance scheme so Buster could collect a $10 million payout. According to Curtis, Alex asked him to meet up and bring his truck. Murdaugh was trying to off himself, and there was a struggle, and a weapon went off. Eddie is also Alex Murdaugh's known drug dealer. So, according to Eddie, Alex asked him to come meet him there. They got there. Alex was like, I'm gonna, shoot myself, blah, blah, blah. And Eddie was like, no, don't. And then he tried to grab the gun from him, and then he accidentally shot himself. So, in a nutshell, sounds like fun. So Alex is claiming that he got shot on the side of the road, but really it didn't go that way. And then afterwards, Alex goes to rehab, and then he ends up getting arrested for hey, Flintstone Foot, how are you?
They are some fucking absolute.
Oh my god, he's so loud. My god. Yeah, so then Alex goes to rehab, and then after he gets out of rehab, he gets arrested on like 85 counts. Let me look up the 85 counts real quick, and I'll show you guys.
Oh my god, there's somebody fucking.
I should have included that, but. Oh, and he was charged with 2 counts of murder. Let me see if they said what it was. So they said that Alex pleaded not guilty Wednesday to charges that he murdered his wife and his son 13 months ago, with one of his defense attorneys calling for a speedy trial to clear his name and prod authorities to go for the real killers. Wearing a white face mask beneath his shaved head and ankle chains above his shiny leather shoes, the 54-year-old Murdaugh made his first court appearance in Colleton County since being indicted in the murder case last week. Despite his not guilty plea, he agreed to remain jailed without bond. One of his lawyers, Dick Harpootlian, said the defense team wanted to avoid a bond hearing that might reveal new information about the killings and prejudice potential jurors when the case goes to trial. He also said Murdaugh already saddled with $7 million in bond on unrelated criminal charges and can't afford to put up cash for his release pending trial. Murdaugh has been behind bars since October, charged with financial crimes and several other misdeeds that were uncovered after the killings of his wife Maggie and their 22-year-old son Paul at the family's Colleton County hunting estate in June 2021. Harpootlian told a judge Wednesday that Murdaugh wants to stand trial within the next 3 to 4 months to show that investigators from South Carolina State Law Enforcement Division targeted the wrong man. Well, of course he's going to fight it. He's a lawyer. You know what I mean? It's got to be hard to try and prosecute a prominent lawyer. You know what I mean? And he has a really good lawyer, too. So, either way. Oh, I want some ice cream. I'm kind of jealous. I have freeze pops up. Oh, I look white. All right, where was I? Authorities have been tight-lipped since the start of the investigation. Last year, they released a late-night 911 call, which Murdaugh reported finding the bodies of his wife and son outside the dog kennels on his estate. The coroner said both victims had been shot multiple times. The judge who presided over Murdaugh's hearing Wednesday had previously denied bond for Murdaugh for the financial crimes charges. A different judge later set bond at $7 million, but Murdaugh was unable to pay it and remained in jail. That's pretty crazy that a prominent lawyer who comes from a family of generational wealth was unable to pay his $7 million bond. Like, you really got to be thinking, like, this guy must have been spending a whole lot of money on, like, drugs or something, because I just find it really bizarre that unless he just didn't have money and he was trying to keep up with all his properties and stuff, but it's really crazy. His lawyers have complained that the bond was set too high and said that because of the lawsuits and frozen assets, Murdaugh couldn't even afford to buy underwear from the jail store. It's pretty sad. If convicted of murder, Murdaugh faces 30 years to life in prison without parole. Under state law, prosecutors could also choose to seek the death penalty because more than one person was killed. The 4 new indictments connected to the slangs added to a pile of 80 other charges lodged against Murdaugh by investigators who have scrutinized every part of his life over the past year. No trial dates have been set. Let me see if I can find... I'm trying to find the list of charges. Hurting my eyes. It says the story corrects that Murdaugh now faces 71 charges. Oh wow, so here we go. Murdaugh has been in jail since October for the ever-going list of breach trust, forgery, money laundering, and computer crime charges. A judge set his bail at $7 million and refused to reduce it, even as Murdaugh's lawyer argued his bank accounts were seized in civil lawsuits and he could barely afford to buy underwear at the Richland County Jail. He has blamed his problems on years of drug addiction. Murdaugh's professional career began to unravel after his 52-year-old wife, Maggie, and 22-year-old son, Paul, were killed in a shooting at the family's home in June. Murdaugh's lawyers have adamantly said he had nothing to do with it and repeatedly said they hope investigators are working hard to find the killers. Murdaugh is the 4th generation of a prominent legal in tiny Hampton County. Alright, here. Murdaugh took a $309 check he was supposed to give to Hakeem Pickney's family and instead bought money orders that went to cover money he took from the accounts of other clients to pay down a loan and get cash for himself and an unnamed family member, according to the indictment. Then, when Pickney died in a nursing home from the lingering effects of his injuries, Murdaugh got an additional $89,000 settlement on Pickney's behalf, but deposited that check in his account without ever telling the man's family, prosecutors said. But he did all the drugs. I'm just so confused. And then he was also charged with drug trafficking charges, I'm pretty sure. Don't know, where was he? Alright. The lawyer for the Pickney family said the transactions are complex and hard to follow, and even more money have been stolen. Prosecutors have suggested at Murdaugh's bond hearing that they still haven't gotten to the bottom of his shady practices. Pickney was black, and most of the people Murdaugh stole from were like him, minorities and not well off, family attorney Justin Bamberg said. Alex gave them just enough money so they would drop on their knees and they say, "Thank you, Jesus," and took the rest. Bamberg said Murdaugh's longtime firm, which fired him after learning he was stealing money. His banker friends and other professionals who Murdaugh used as a personal representative for hurt victims and grieving families, or who played other roles in helping his schemes go on for so long, should face consequences too. Because even if they aren't criminally responsible, they should have asked questions. We are coming for your pockets. We're going to get all the money these people were supposed to get, Bamberg said. Another indictment Friday details how, starting in 2013, Murdaugh collected 14 settlement checks totaling more than $1.3 million for a man whose wife died in a wreck and stole all the money for himself. Other victims have included a state trooper, family friends, and an immigrant living in the country illegally, according to previous indictments. At his bond hearings, Murdaugh lawyers blamed years of addiction to opioids for his behavior, saying he sought counseling and wants to make things right for the clients he hurt. Murdaugh's law license has been suspended since his arrest in September after state agents said he tried to arrange his own death so his surviving son could collect $10 million in life insurance policy. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Fruit Loops. Like, there's no way he was spending this much money on drugs. He had to. I feel like he was doing this like long before he was getting. I just feel like that's a stupid reason to blame him for his drugs. There's got to be something else. I mean, this is like, I don't even know how anybody could ingest this much money's worth of drugs. This is just crazy. I mean, maybe over a really long period of time, but for the amount of time he did it, that's just insane to me. I don't know. I don't know if I buy that at all. I'm going to see if there's anything else. Well, I think I'm going to end it there. It's been like an hour and 20 minutes, but hopefully I explained it well. I should have put more pictures, but I spent like the whole day on it. Thank you everybody for coming. I am so tired. I've been up since like 5 o'clock this morning, so as you can tell, I can't stop yawning. I'm like ready for bed. I question if it was a murder-suicide plot, because he didn't call his horrible shotgun man back to do it right. This is what I think it was. I don't think it was a murder-suicide, whatever thing he planned. I think he set that up to make, because he knew the cops were closing in on him as a suspect, and he wanted to throw them off and make them think that some guy was targeting him and his family. You know what I mean? Like, oh, they killed my wife and son and now they're coming for me. But then it backfired and he couldn't deny it, so he had to make up some excuse, and that was that he wanted his son to get the $10 million. But I really think he wanted to throw them off and really make them think that there was some crazed murderer that was out for revenge on the Murdaugh family. And, you know. Yeah, exactly. Exactly, Fruit Loops. Ditto. Thank you, Sarah. It took me a long time. I feel like it was kind of like dull for how long I spent on it, though. I should have put more pictures, but it's fine. I'll get better at it. This was my first PowerPoint. But yeah, I think that's exactly why he did it. And I think the reason he killed Paul, I don't think he expected Paul to be there. I think Paul was just like a victim of circumstance, or like Paul maybe tried to help his mom and like ran out, because Paul was a close range killing. So like with a shotgun. So I feel like maybe Paul grabbed a shotgun that was like inside the kennels and went after him, and then maybe they scuffled and then he shot him with it. I don't know. Or maybe he put down the rifle and then realized Paul was there and hid and like got a gun real quick because they were at the hunting lodge and ran guns everywhere and grabbed some gun and then ran up on Paul or something. But I'm telling you, you gotta go back and listen to the 911 call with headphones on, because I couldn't really hear it this time because it was kind of quiet. That's why I was like leaning all the way up like this. But I'm telling you, he says something like, Paul, why did you have to do this? Or like, why did you have to get involved? Like, he whispers it to himself, like, oh, Paul, why did you have to get involved? And I'm telling you, oh yeah, this trial is going to be crazy. But I can't believe that he was so like calculated. Like, they literally, he picked out people who knew nothing about law, that like just really, vulnerable people who didn't have a lot of money, who were happy with just some money and expected him to help them. And then he, like, that, there's going to be a lot of, I'll be surprised if a lot of people don't get taken down for this, because he was working with that guy Fleming, who was his best friend. They were working hand in hand. He would tell everyone, like, go get that lawyer, go, he's a good guy. And he didn't tell them that they were best friends. And then they would steal money from people together. I think people need to look in on him a lot more. But if anybody, Mandy Matney does such a good job. She has proof. Like, if you watch her podcast, she has like every interview done in the investigation. She has document after document after document. She does interviews. She's got everything. Like, I learned stuff that I didn't even know. Like, I thought I knew a lot about it, but I learned a lot more than I thought I knew today, listening to her. Yeah, it was like, Paul, why did you have to be there? Why did you have to get involved or something? He said something. I remember hearing it. I have to listen to it in the headphones. Yeah, it's when he's like whispering under his breath in the background, and it's quick. I think it was like, did you see when the subtitles were saying like Paul, Maggie, at that one point when there was like a little space in between? I think that's when he said it. I just couldn't understand it because I didn't have headphones on. But I'm gonna listen to it again tonight, and when I find the actual timestamp, I will send it to most of y'all. Most of y'all are in the chat, so I'll find it. But I can't believe I've been up here for an hour and a half already. It felt so short. Like, I felt like I was only up here for like, hey, Queen Bee. I was just about to shut this down. Your live went on all day, girl. Like, I don't know how you did it. I would have had to take a nap while everyone was talking. I would have just been like, all right, you guys go on. I'm going to go take a nap or go do my thing. Like, you were on for hours. I went in and I was like, no way she's still alive right now. I just finished this, though. I just did my whole PowerPoint, so I'm probably getting off. But thank you for coming in. I've been up since like 5 o'clock in the morning at work, so I'm exhausted. But it really was a marathon live. It was. I was cracking up. Some song was like, Queen's still alive. I can't believe it. Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. I never tried that yet, timestamping it. But that is a good idea. Because, like, you could timestamp all the subjects when they start talking about it. Alright, well, I'm going to shut this down, guys. Thank you for coming. Good night, everyone. Well, probably not going to be up much longer. I'll probably go live, I don't know, probably midweek sometime. Unless something juicy happens in the meantime, but I'll probably go live midweek. Alright, good night, everyone. Bye.